Discover the incredible 30-day transformation that revealed a touching life-changing secret. Lucia stood in her tiny apartment, surrounded by the oppressive walls that had witnessed so many dreams falter. Her heart raced as she pulled the dusty sewing machine from its hiding place, a relic of her childhood. Memories flooded her mind: the warm embrace of her grandmother, the smell of freshly sewn fabric, the laughter of an innocent girl lost in creation. With each click of the pedal, Lucia felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, as if the machine was breathing life back into her spirit. Each evening at the bakery, Lucia worked tirelessly, her hands kneading dough as thoughts of her children filled her mind. Could she ever provide them with a life beyond survival? Could she find a passion that could transform her life? The heartbreaking reality of financial instability weighed heavily on her shoulders. But that night, as she threaded a needle, she recalled the vibrant colors her grandmother had so skillfully woven into every stitch. It was more than sewing, it was a celebration of life, a delicate dance between struggle and beauty. Before continuing, I need to warn you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days crept by, Lucia felt the fire within her grow brighter. She reached out to a support group of local women, each facing their own battles in a society that often overlooked them. Together, they organized sewing nights filled with shared laughter, skills, and stories. Each stitch sewn became a promise to themselves, to each other, and to their families. In a world that pushed them down, they began to rise. They poured their hearts into colorful fabrics, transforming scraps into symbols of resilience. Yet, nestled in the joy was a familiar dread. The showcase day approached, where Lucia planned to reveal her collection. Just as her enthusiasm peaked, an old schoolmate crossed her path. He wore success like a designer suit, and his dismissive laughter pierced her soul, echoing old judgments. Lucia fought to hold on to her identity, to prove to herself that she wasn't just a single mother from the periphery. How could she stand firm while the whispers of doubt crept closer? On the day of the showcase, excitement hung in the air, an electric buzz that both thrilled and terrified her. Suddenly, a renowned designer slipped into the crowd, his gaze fixated on her creations. He saw her talent but extended an offer that threatened the very community she had fought to uplift. Lucia's heart raced. Would she abandon her sisters for personal gain, or could she find a way to lift them all? Then, just as hope began to bloom, a sharp knock interrupted her thoughts. A police officer stood on her doorstep, anxiety etched on his face. "Your son, he's had an incident at school." Her heart sank. There it was, the weight of motherhood clashing with ambition. Torn between her dreams and the reality of her family, Lucia felt her world tilt. In that moment of truth, she stood at a crossroads, wondering how she could reclaim her identity while nurturing the very one she fought for. Would her journey toward empowerment come at a devastating price? The shadows stretched long before her, and with each tick of the clock, Lucia felt the stirring of change. Lucia stood frozen in front of the police officer, her heart pounding like a drum in her ears. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, as the weight of her son's incident settled upon her shoulders. "What happened?" she managed to choke out, her voice barely above a whisper. She wanted to scream, to tear through the walls of her own life that seemed to close in around her, trapping her in this moment of fear. The officer shifted uncomfortably. "It seems he got into a fight. He's upset, and we think it's best you come with us." In a daze, Lucia grabbed her jacket, her hands trembling. Thoughts raced through her mind, each tangled in desperation. Had she failed him? Was her effort to uplift their lives enough if her son was struggling? She glanced back at the sewing machine, a symbol of her hope, but everything felt overshadowed by uncertainty. To the police station. Her son sat in a small room, his expression a mixture of anger and hurt that twisted her insides. He was only 10, yet the weight of the world seemed to rest heavily on his small shoulders. Lucia opened the door, and he immediately looked up. His big brown eyes searched hers, filled with questions that hurt to see. "I didn't mean to, it just happened," he mumbled, his voice cracking. Lucia wrapped her arms around him, pulling him close. I know, meu amor. I'm here now. That moment became a lifeline, a reminder of why she was fighting so hard. But doubt gnawed at her. What good was her dream if it didn't protect her family? As they left the station, Lucia felt her resolve harden. The showcase was still looming overhead, a chance to finally shine. Yet the thought of her son's pain tugged at her heartstrings. Would she continue to chase this dream if it put her family at risk? She gathered her group of sewing friends the next day. They met in the dim light of Lucia's apartment, surrounded by vibrant fabrics and vibrant hopes. Lucia shared her fears, tears spilling as she recounted the anxiety of that night. We should be helping each other, she said, her voice trembling. What if we brought the children into this? They can help us make it a family affair. We can teach them together. The room filled with murmurs of agreement. The idea sparked a flicker of hope. They began to form a plan, inviting their children to join the sewing nights, transforming the initiative into something bigger than themselves. Not just a showcase of success, but a narrative of unity, community, and love. Lucia found strength in the solidarity of her friends. They were building something beautiful, a tapestry of resilience that would uplift them all. But just as she began to feel a sense of direction again, a new challenge emerged. The renowned designer who had approached her at the showcase announced he would be attending their next gathering. His presence loomed large, filled with the pressure of expectation. Was her vision strong enough to withstand the urge to align with success alone? As Lucia prepared for the evening, her heart raced. In the chaos of fabric and laughter, would she reclaim her purpose, or would the allure of fame pull her away? The stakes were high and tension hummed in the air like an unresolved chord, waiting for its final note. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both her dreams and her responsibilities. Would tonight be a celebration of togetherness, or a tipping point that would unravel everything? The clock ticked ominously, a reminder that change was imminent, and with it came the promise of transformation. What would Lucia choose when the moment arrived? Lucia's heart felt like it was racing in double time as she mixed threads and motifs, trying to create something that would truly represent their collective spirit. The noise in the room was a comforting chaos. Children giggled, bright fabrics fluttered like colorful birds, and her friends chatted animatedly about patterns and ideas. Each laugh seemed to momentarily lift the weight pressing down on her chest, yet with each passing minute, the impending presence of the designer loomed more heavily in her mind. May, should I help cut the fabric? Her son's voice broke through her thoughts, a gentle reminder of the love that grounded her. His face was serious yet hopeful as he eagerly waited for her reply. Of course, meu amor. You're going to be the best helper, she replied, forcing a smile that still felt strained. His innocence was a light against the shadows of doubt that danced around her as they settled into their tasks. Lucia noticed how naturally the children moved among the threads, laughing and competing to impress the adults. A sense of joy swelled within her, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, this gathering was about more than just sewing. It was about family, about resilience, and making connections that mattered. Her fervor ignited. She wanted to create something that told the world who they truly were: strong, united, vibrant. Soon it was time to set the table for a meal. The group of mothers and children took a break, sharing simple dishes made with love and care. As they gathered, passing around bolinjos and fresh juice, laughter echoed through the small space, mixing with the scent of spices and homemade goodness. Lucia caught sight of her son as he chatted with one of his friends, their little heads bent close together in conspiratorial whispers. In moments like these, the heaviness of their earlier troubles faded a little, replaced by the warmth of companionship. Then, a knock rattled the door, followed by the unmistakable sound of heels tapping on the wooden floor. Lucia's heart skipped a beat. Ailey, she whispered, fear and excitement entwined within her. The renowned designer, with his sharp gaze and reputation for spotting talent, had arrived. As she opened the door, her breath caught at the sight of him, tall, confident, and surrounded by an air of authority. Good evening, everyone, he greeted with an infectious enthusiasm. The room was suddenly filled with anticipation. The children fell silent, and all eyes zeroed in on him. Wow, look at all this creativity. This is wonderful, he declared, scanning the vibrant displays of fabrics lying all around. His eyes settled on Lucia, a hint of curiosity shining through. I've seen some beautiful things coming from your group, Lucia. I'm excited to see where your dreams can take you. Warmth spread through Lucia's chest. Yet with it came an immediate realization this was the moment that could alter everything. Was this merely the allure of recognition, or an opportunity to fulfill her deeper commitment to family and community? With the designer observing and her friends looking on, Lucia felt a familiar fear creeping back in. Fearing she might be standing on the threshold of chasing a dream that might cost her the very foundation she was trying to build. Could she blend the expectations of success and the raw beauty of community? Sensing her tension, her son nudged her gently. "May I believe in you?" he whispered. The assurance in his young voice sent a jolt of resolve through her. Maybe this was exactly what they needed. To show not just the beauty of their work, but the heart and history behind it. Gathering her thoughts, Lucia stepped forward. "Let us show him what we can do together," she said. Her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. As the gathering continued, Lucia felt the profound connection between her purpose and her family. The stakes were clearer than ever, and yet the path ahead began to shimmer with possibility. But just as she began to feel the thrill of confrontation, a commotion erupted outside. Voices escalated in urgency, and Lucia's heart sank as she recognized her son's name within the chaos. Would the night be transformed from celebration to calamity? Lucia's heart pounded harder, each beat mirroring the growing fear that gripped her. She turned to see her friends exchanging anxious glances, the laughter dissipating as the tension seeped into the very walls of the room. The designer, momentarily distracted, furrowed his brow as the commotion outside reached a dizzying crescendo. "May." Her son's voice cut through the noise, but it was laced with distress. Lucia's stomach twisted. She rushed to the door, her pulse racing, her mind racing faster. She flung the door wide open, and the chaos outside unfolded like a scene from a nightmare. A small crowd had gathered, faces pale and anxious. Lucia spotted her son just a few feet away, his small body held tightly by another child, tears streaming down his cheeks. Panic washed over her. "Meio amor," she cried, pushing through the group. The world blurred as she reached out for him, desperately fighting against the crowd. All she could hear was the thudding of her heart, and her son's sobs piercing through the chaos. "May, I'm scared," he whimpered, finding her gaze and clutching her hand tightly. Lucia knelt down, wrapping her arms around him, feeling the weight of his fear pressing against her chest. "Show, I'm here. I'm here," she whispered, her voice shaking as she fought to keep her own tears at bay. "Ulikai." He fell. Another child cried, pointing towards a small hill where a few older boys were huddled around something, a fallen bike. The clattering metal and angry voices only intensified Lucia's worry. "Are you hurt?" she asked her son, searching his face for injuries, for any sign of pain. He shook his head, his expression a fragile mix of fear and relief. The sight of her son unscathed filled her with gratitude, but the night had changed. The atmosphere shifted drastically from warmth and creativity to urgency and fear. The designer stepped forward, his confidence still intact but his expression softened. "Is everyone all right?" he inquired, his voice steady. But the tension was palpable, the weight of potential disaster looming. "Just a little shaken up," Lucia managed to say, keeping her son close. The community, her community, had gathered in this small moment of crisis, and as she looked around, she saw the faces of friends, neighbors, and strangers. All concerned, all willing to help. Something powerful shifted within her. Maybe this was a reminder of what truly mattered, the strands that connected them all. In their joint fear and care for one another, the night's purpose surged back into view. This was not just about fabric or dreams. It was about depth, about being together in both celebration and turmoil. "I'm sorry," Lucia said, finding her voice. "I thought tonight would be perfect." Her words trailed off, but she sensed the understanding reflecting back at her from her friends. They too felt the weight of expectations, but in this moment, they stood strong together. "Perfeito, Naoe." "It's a lesson," the designer chimed in, a hint of warmth in his tone. "This is exactly the spirit I wanted to see." Lucia blinked in surprise. Wasn't he here just to evaluate? He seemed to genuinely care, to see beyond the stitches and into the heart of what they represented. As the commotion settled, a sense of unity began to bloom amidst the fragility. Lucia, still kneeling, looked into her son's eyes. "Are you ready to go back in?" She asked him, and he nodded, visibly calming with the reassurance of her presence. They turned back towards the door, hand in hand, as her friends began to gather around, laughter cautiously nudging away the lingering tension. But as Lucia stepped back into the room, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just the beginning. What would it mean to weave together their dreams and fears into something greater? In her heart, a new question burned brightly. Could their story become more than just clothing? And would their strength, their bonds, transform this chaotic night into something much more profound? Lucia re-entered the room, her heart still fluttering from the chaos. The weariness of the night settled heavily in her chest, but the warmth of her son's hand reassured her. She focused on the faces around her, a tapestry of relief and newfound purpose. Vamos lá, folks, let us refocus. The designer clapped, his authoritative voice cutting through the lingering apprehension. We have a show to prepare. He winked at Lucia, as if he could feel their shared understanding bubbling underneath the surface. People scattered, picking up conversations, adjusting props, and rekindling the energy that had momentarily flickered. Lucia noticed how her friends pulled together, their hands deftly rearranging the vibrant garments that hung like clouds across the room. Laughter echoed, hesitant but promising. Lucia, Carla called, her voice bright as she approached, strands of hair falling out of place. It's almost showtime. Remember what we talked about earlier? Let us showcase our collection's spirit. Spirit, Lucia repeated, reflecting on the word. Just moments before, they had stood on the edge of panic. Now, in the face of adversity, their resolve shone brighter than ever. As they prepared, Lucia felt a sense of exhilaration wash over her, igniting a fire within. She thought of each piece of clothing they had crafted together. Each design held their dreams, each stitch woven hopes, laughter, and even tears. Her son, ever observant, tugged at her dress, snapping her from reverie. May, are we going to show the clothes? His eyes glimmered with curiosity, a hint of pride flickering behind the worry. Yes, meio amor, she affirmed, bending down to his level. We are going to show how much love we put into every single piece. She smiled, allowing her happiness to creep back in. The evening was still full of potential. As the lights dimmed, she could feel the hum of anticipation in the air. She stood behind the curtain with her friends and their models, peeking out at the chairs filled with audience faces. A blend of excitement and uncertainty mirrored among them. Then the music began, an enchanting melody that lifted hearts. One by one, the models stepped out, draped in the garments Lucia and her team had poured their souls into. Each piece was a reflection of their community, rich colors inspired by the vibrant streets, fabrics flowing like memories shared under the sun. Lucia's heart raced as she watched her creations come to life. Applause erupted when the first model turned. The crowd was captivated. She turned to her son, who gazed wide-eyed, disbelief and joy dancing on his face. But as moments transformed into minutes, a nagging thought whispered at the back of her mind. This wasn't merely about how beautiful the garments were, it was about the stories they represented. A reminder that the fabric of their lives was sewn together with love, resilience, and connection. She caught a glimpse of her friends laughing, sharing knowing glances, and felt something shift inside her. She had started this journey wanting to create but realized now it was about much more, a transformation deeper than trends or materials. Just then, Lucia noticed a familiar figure emerging from the crowd. A woman with striking features and gentle eyes. She wore a simple dress, yet there was something magnetic about her presence. As if time slowed, Lucia felt a magnetic pull. She had to speak with her. Who was she, and why did her heart race at the sight of her? What connection did she hold to this night that felt so significant? As the last model made her way back, Lucia took a deep breath, ready to weave another thread in her unfolding story. Destiny awaited just around the corner. Lucia's gaze remained fixed on the woman, her pulse quickening. With each passing heartbeat, curiosity wrapped around her like a fine silk ribbon. What was it about this stranger that felt so familiar, inviting yet unsettling? She felt as if she had met her before, though she couldn't quite place where. Lucia. Carla's voice pierced her thoughts. We need you up front. The urgency snapped her back to reality. Carla was waving her hands with an infectious enthusiasm. With a final glance at the stranger, Lucia turned to join her friends at the forefront of the stage. As their final model glided past, Lucia felt the shadows of uncertainty soften beneath the warm spotlight. Still, the woman loomed in her mind, each thought weaving deeper questions. She instinctively adjusted her shirt, a signature piece meant to represent courage and connection. Carla grinned as the audience burst into applause, the sound of hope washing over them. "Can you believe it?" one of the younger models exclaimed, breathless with excitement. "They love us." "Yes, love and magic," Carla added, her eyes sparkling. "We made something beautiful." Lucia's chest swelled at her friend's joyous energy, a fleeting reminder of the reason she had fought so hard for this moment. But the woman lingered. Her presence was etched in the corner of Lucia's heart, beckoning her to understand. As the celebration swelled, Lucia excused herself, pushing through the crowd, her mind swirling like a colorful fabric in the wind. Each step aimed toward the woman who now stood, her gaze fixed on the stage with an intensity that sent shivers up Lucia's spine. "Excuse me," Lucia finally said, reaching the woman. "I'm Lucia. I couldn't help but notice you there. Do I know you?" The woman turned slowly, her gentle eyes meeting Lucia's with an intensity that stole her breath. A smile formed on her lips, warm yet enigmatic. "My name is Beatrice," she replied softly. "We met once a long time ago." Lucia's heart raced as memories flickered. In the haze of her past, glimmers of a childhood connection danced like stars in the night sky. Beatrice? The neighbor? The one with the beautiful garden? A dim recollection flashed, blooming flowers and laughter echoing through afternoons spent exploring sun-drenched alleyways. Yes, those summer days filled with dreams. Beatrice's eyes sparkled with recognition. "I've watched your journey. This show, it's incredible." "Thank you," Lucia breathed, her emotions running wild. "But how did you end up here?" "I came back to support the community," she said, gesturing at the vibrant crowd. "But seeing you, Lucia, it's brought back something I had almost forgotten. It's about the dreams we weave and the stories that bind us." The ambience shifted, the music mingling with nostalgia as memories surged, challenges faced, laughter shared, dreams planted and nurtured. Time compressed in that moment, expanding their world beyond this night. "What do you mean?" Lucia pressed, curiosity piqued. "What stories do we share?" The warmth in her chest combined with the uncertainty of what revelations awaited. Stories of resilience, of transformation. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the audience, pulling them back into the present. Models spun and the air filled with celebration. Yet between them lingered something unspoken, a connection weaving through the fabric of their lives once more. "Let us talk more," Lucia said, her heart fluttering with anticipation. "I want to hear everything. Tonight, perhaps?" Beatrice smiled, her eyes brimming with something Lucia couldn't quite place. "Yes," Lucia replied, knowing that whatever this was, it promised something significant. As the night pulsed with endless possibilities, hope blossomed, waiting to unfurl stories yearning to be woven into the fabric of their lives. What would this reunion reveal? And would the memories they shared transform their futures in ways they never expected? A energia de festa se intensificou. Conversadas e congratulações e coando por todo o espaço. Lucia sentia a adrenalina de exhibico dancando suas veias. Mas era a presença de Beatriz que a transportava a lugar diferente. A urgência sua vontade de saber mais sobre aquela mulher, aquela amiga da infância, imparava para a frente, como fio invisível a conectas ao passado, o olhar de Beatriz parecia carregar histórias neo contadas. Naquele momento, Lucia sentia como o tempo se compromisso, e se expandis, ao mesmo tempo. Quando e onde podemos nos encontrar? Ela perguntou, sua voz trêmula de expectativa. De repente, Beatriz lançou olhar para o lado. Por ali, ela indicou uma saída lateral, onde as luzes eram mais baixas e a música mais suave. Precisamos lugar tranquilo para falar. Seguiram juntas lado a lado, como se envolvidas por lago familiar. Assim que alcançaram pequeno recanto longe dos olhares curiosos, Beatriz perui encarou Lucia com uma intensidade que fez o coração dela disparar. "Lucia, você precisa entender que o que aconteceu entre nós nos molda de maneiras que nunca discutimos. Aquele verão foi especial, mas havia uma razão por trás de nossa amizade. O jeito que Beatriz falou, quase sincero, provocou frio na barriga de Lucia. O que você quer dizer?" Lucia murmurou, A curiosidade misturada com livre temer. Cada palavra de Beatriz parecia carregada de significado. O que realmente aconteceu? Lembra-me de sua família. De luta que vocês enfrentaram, nem sabia o quanto você estava passando. Eu era tão jovem. Beatriz suspirou, olhar nostálgico seu rosto. Mas você era sempre tão forte. Era como as flores do meu jardim quisessem se abrir mesmo sua presença. Lúcia sentiu na garganta. Ela sempre teve olhar otimista. Mas as cicatrizes da infância às vezes eram profundas demais para serem ignoradas. Eu nunca soube que você estava ali. O que posso fazer para entender melhor? Às vezes as respostas estão nossas memórias mais escondidas. O que podia ser uma simples amizade acabou se transformando algo que, mesmo sem estarmos juntas, conecta nossas vidas. Beatriz Peru. Alhando diretamente nos olhos de Lúcia. Você está pronta para descobrir essas verdades? A pergunta parava no ar Lúcia sentiu o estômago revirar. O peso de revelação apressionava, mas ao mesmo tempo havia uma luz. Uma esperança de entender seu passado de maneira nova. Dixando de lado as sombras. Sim está pronta Lúcia disse, fio de voz revelador. Mas como podemos reescrever a nossa história? Ao desvendar nossas lembranças, fermos conexos que podemos libertar, Beatriz respondeu, seu sorriso luminoso trazendo pelo menos fio de paz ao coração de Lúcia. Mas antes que pudessem aprofundar ainda mais, grupo de amigas apareceu procurando por Lúcia. E você não pode se perder. Temos que celebrar juntas. Desculpa, Lúcia se vira para Beatriz. A fragilidade de seu momento quase escapando. Prometemos nos encontrar de novo? Com certeza. Este é apenas o caminho, Beatriz respondeu, enquanto os outros se aproximavam. Conectadas pelo passado, elas sentiam que essa nova amizade também estava carregada de segredos. O que mais estava guardado no tecido do tempo? Lúcia se despediu de Beatriz. Uma nova necessidade pulsando seu interior. Enquanto se juntava à festa novamente, uma pergunta ardia na sua mente. Que verdades ainda estavam por vir? E como cada uma delas poderia mudar suas vidas para sempre? O barulho de festa invadia os sentidos de Lúcia. A música vibrante a envolvia como uma manta de cores. Ela tentava se concentrar nas conversas, nos risos, mas sua mente estava longe, martelando as palavras de Beatriz. Havia algo ali, uma camada profunda de significados que ela estava prestes a descortinar. Ao desvendar nossas lembranças a frase repetia na sua cabeça. Quais lembranças? O que significava essa conexão que transcende os anos? Esse tipo de reflexo parecia quase estranha em meio ao clima livre de celebração. Mas a verdade é que Lúcia se sentia mais viva do que nunca. As amigas animadas, puxaram na para dançar. O movimento a fazia esquecer pouco de tensão, mas era impossível afastar a curiosidade apaixonada que tomava conta de seu coração. Enquanto se movimentava, suas pernas balançavam ao som, mas sua mente teria que encontrar jeito de reencontrar Beatriz. A ideia de reencontro sova como botão de reinicio, caminho que poderia levá-las a novo capítulo. Finalmente, quando seus olhos se encontraram de novo, Beatriz estava à margem da pista. O coração de Lúcia bateu mais rápido. Com gesto discreto, Beatriz a chamou. Lúcia hesitou, mas a sintonia entre as duas era quase palpável. Com carinho silencioso, Lúcia se afasta das amigas, permitindo se ser guiada por aquele encanto. Beatriz tinha brilho diferente agora. Seus olhos caios de risos, também pareciam esconder peso. Vamos dar uma volta lá fora, disse apontando para a varanda, onde o ar fresco de noite prometia segredos. As luzes de festa eram como sombras dancantes, moldando tudo ao redor no espaço aberto. A atmosfera estava repleta de estrelas. O silêncio, quebrado apenas pelo murmúrio distante de música, parecia proteger os segredos que estavam prestes a vir à tona. Você já parou para pensar como nossas vidas se cruzarão de novo? A como o destino nos forçasse a reabrir feridas antigas? Beatriz Camacu. Lucia respir fundo, o Cairo de flores misturadas como brisa de noite envolvia. Sim mas neo se esta pronta para abrir essas feridas. E se a dor for maior do que imaginamos? A insegurança era visível sua voz, mas havia também uma curiosidade latente. Beatriz do passo à frente, su olhar fixo Lucia. Às vezes precisamos encarar a dor para encontrar a luz. O verio que passamos juntas neo foi só uma lembrança. Foi uma construção. Uma raiz que nossas histórias cultivaram. O tom de sua voz era suave quase musical. Lucia sentia uma lágrima se formaram de olho. Mas ela neo havia vindo de tristeza. Era uma mistura de medo e esperança. O que acontecia naquele verio que nos separou? Ela sabia que essa pergunta poderia abrir caminho mais complicado. Mas a intensidade do momento a puxava para frente. Beatriz hesitou, mas o olhar que lança para Lucia estava carregado. Estive me preparando para isso mas eco que a hora de compartilhar. Você está pronta para vir? A pergunta reverbera entre as estrelas, e Lucia soube que, neo importando o que viesse, ela neo conseguiria voltar atrás. Está pronta, Lucia confirmou. A determina que eu no olhar desafiando qualquer sombra do passado. Me conte tudo. Enquanto as palavras de Beatriz começavam a preencher o espaço entre elas, Lucia soube que algo transformador estava prestes a acontecer. Seria este o momento que as respostas poderiam levar a verdadeiras libertacos? O coração acelerado dela pulsava com entusiasmo e ansiedade. Ansiosa para descobrir as camadas do que estava escondido. O que mais Beatriz tinha para revelar? E como isso poderia moldar o futuro delas? Beatriz respirou fundo, como se as palavras que estava prestes a dizer tivessem peso muito maior do que qualquer pudesse imaginar. A brisa suave balancava os cabelos de Lucia, mas o coração dela estava parado suspenso. Quando éramos adolescentes Beatriz Camacu sua voz embargada. Eu neo fui apenas sua amiga. Havia algo mais, algo que eu neo sabia lidar. Eu amava você Lucia. O mundo à sua volta parecia se silenciar. Lucia sentia uma onda de choque. Uma mistura de surpresa e alegria que a deixaram sem palavras. Ok. A pergunta escapuliu dela quase sussurro. O ritmo do seu coração disparou. Cada batida uma lembrança de momentos que agora pareciam ter novo significado. Beatriz despediu-se do seu próprio passado gesto corajoso. Eu tinha medo do que você poderia pensar. Do que poderíamos perder. Acabei me distanciando. Achando que assim estaria protegendo tanto você quanto a mim mesma. A vulnerabilidade nos olhos de Beatriz era espelho de vulnerabilidade que Lucia guardava há tanto tempo. Mas eu nunca soube disso Lucia disse, lembrando-se de risos compartilhados, de pequenas notas que trocavam e de olhares que duravam segundo a mais do que deveriam. Para mim você sempre foi tudo. As lembranças dançaram pela sua mente, agora tingidas de novo entendimento. Beatriz do passo mais perto. E agora depois de todos esses anos, sinto que ainda leco entre nós. Mesmo que a vida tenha nos levado por caminhos diferentes, você sempre foi uma parte importante de quem eu sou. As palavras de Beatriz tinham peso. Neo era só uma revelação mas convite. O que fazer agora com essa nova verdade? E se Lucia se permitir sentir o que sempre esteve ali? Eu neo sei lidar com isso ela confessou. A voz tremula. Muito para similar. Eu sempre me perguntei por que nos afastamos, mas nunca imaginei que a razão fosse tão profunda. Beatriz sorriu, mas os olhos estavam marejados. Compreensível. Eu está aqui para entender. Está aqui para nos. Se você quiser. O universo parecia aguardar a resposta de Lucia. As estrelas próximas brilhando com expectativa. Como o coração pulando no peito. Lucia olhou para Beatriz. Poderia ela abrir esse espaço de exploração? Essa liberdade poderia ser mais que caminho para o passado. Poderia ser retorno a o que realmente desejava. E se isso nos machucar de novo? Questiona Lucia. Temendo o que a verdade poderia trazer. Beatriz tocou a mão dela, gesto simples más poderoso. Às vezes é preciso arriscar para se encontrar. Estamos aqui agora. Isso já passo à frente. As palavras dela ecoaram na mente de Lúcia. Sim passo à frente. Era o que eles mais precisavam. Mas o que Lúcia ainda não sabia era que algumas revelações poderiam mudar não só o presente, mas todo o arco de suas vidas. Último olhar trocado, e Lúcia percebeu que a escola estava suas mãos. O que fazer com esse novo entendimento? O destino poderia ser bem mais dentro do que eles podiam imaginar. Enquanto a música de festa se tornava eco distante, Lúcia sabia que cada passo que daram agora as levaria lugar que não apenas entendia o passado, mas moldava futuro que ainda não havíamos sonhado. Ela se vira para Beatriz, a responder que o pouco mais passada de expectativa. Vamos lá então. O que mais você tem para me contar? Naquele momento as luzes de festa brilharam ainda mais intensamente, como se processam por cada palavra que estava por vir. O passado poderia ser campo de flores murchas, mas o que primeiramente parecia uma ferida, agora estava envolto uma esperança redentora. O futuro aguardava caio de promessas. Lúcia respirou fundo, absorvendo a importância do momento. O coração baixa acelerado, tambor pulsante que acompanhava a melodia ao fundo. Os risos e festejos de festa agora pareciam eco distante, quase como se o mundo ao redor houvesse desacelerado, dando espaço para o que realmente importava. Estava prestes a descobrir tesouros que poderiam mudar sua vida, e de Beatriz para sempre. Quando estávamos juntas, eu sentia que havia algo diferente entre nós, Lúcia comigo. Sua voz tremendo como vulnerabilidade. O passado ainda tinha suas guerras sobre ela, mas a esperança também pulsava forte. Mas sempre pensei que faço eu. Sempre quis entender por que você se afastou. Beatriz nos olhos dela, brilho suave filtrado pela luz da lua. Eu não me apartava de você por querer Lúcia. Era por medo. Medo do que nos poderíamos construir. Do que poderíamos perder. A sinceridade na voz dela era quase balsamo para Lúcia, que sentia suas defesas começando a roer. E agora? Lúcia sussurrou, quase duvidando da possibilidade de caminho que se unisse. O que fazemos com essa verdade agora? Podemos começar devagar, Beatriz sugeriu. Uma centelha de coragem nos olhos. Vamos juntas como nas tardes ensolaradas que costumávamos passar. Ao invés de nos perder, criamos uma nova história. O coração de Lúcia aquecia-se, uma combinação de saudade e esperança. Enquanto falavam, lembranças de aurora começaram a flor como rio, trazendo à tona cada gargalhada compartilhada, cada momento de descoberta sob o calor do sol. O espaço ao redor parecia pulsar com as cores e energias daquela época. Lúcia sorriu sentindo renovado vínculo energizer seu ser. Da música distante tornou-se pano de fundo melódico. E o sussurro de brisa baixa como compasso constante. Eu quero tanto isso Beatriz. Quero acreditar que nossa história pode continuar. E pode. Beatriz afirmou, resplandecendo confiança. Vamos fazer isso passo a passo, reconectar cada ponto perdido, criar novas memórias. Naquele instante, Lúcia descarta o medo que a tinha aprisionado, aceitando as possibilidades que se abriam diante delas. As duas se entreolharam, a realidade do que estavam prestes a construir aliado a coragem pelo desconhecido. O último remorso foi absorvido pela paisagem de possibilidade de futuro juntas, como amigas, como aliadas, talvez 8 meses. Esta pronta, Lúcia declara. O compromisso estabelecido entre elas. A atmosfera parecia eletrificada, caia de promessas e emoções contidas, depois de anos esquecidas. Vamos celebrar as histórias que temos e as que ainda vamos criar. Como leco renovado celado entre as duas, elas voltarão para a festa, sentindo-se diferentes, mais livres. As risadas foram retomadas e a música reuniu mais uma vez, não como simples fundo, mas como parte da sinfonia que agora incluía suas novas promessas. Lúcia observou cada amigo de sua comunidade, como cada deles era parte das varias camadas que criavam seu mundo, enriquecendo sua identidade, seu propósito. Foi assim que, juntas, elas decidiram não apenas se reconectar, mas se fortalecer como uma força coletiva. Vamos fazer algo grande, Lúcia! Exclamou Beatriz com brilho nos olhos que ecoava as ambicos de sua infância. Vamos trazer outras mulheres, trazer nossos filhos, mostrar a todos que juntos podemos fazer mágica. Lúcia sorriu. A medida que a visão de futuro transforma que ganhava forma sua mente. A noite mágica não era apenas sobre o defile, mas sobre a rede que estavam prestes a formar círculo de força e amor enquanto as batidas de música pulsavam ao fundo. Ela soube que a luta, os desafios e todas as montanhas que escalaram não iram veio. A jornada seria apenas o caminho de uma nova era, onde juntas, elas poderiam se redefinir e tornar suas vozes ainda mais fortes. Finalizando a noite sob seu estrelado, Lúcia olhou para Beatriz, e unidas, repetiram a mantra renovator, juntas mais fortes. Era a pura essência de transformação, unidas por uma história rica e vibrante, tecida com amor, ambição e resiliência de você? Está pronto para descobrir sua própria força? Então, não esqueça de se inscrever no canal agora para não perder as próximas histórias incríveis. Deixe like neste vídeo para alimentar a chama do nosso conteúdo e comente abaixo suas ricos e sentimentos sobre este final emocionante. Compartilhe imediatamente este vídeo com pelo menos 5 amigos que precisam ver essa transformação. Este é o momento de apoiar o canal. Não esperem mais segundo.